Back to this episode of my director series. We are going to be talking about the infamous, the glorious Tim Burton. Tim Burton. Tim Burton, born August 25th, 1958, is an American filmmaker and producer known for popularizing gothic culture in the American film industry. Burton is famous for his gothic, horror, and dark fantasy films. Before I begin, I have also done I've already done one of Tim's films already previous. I think that was like episode... I can check. It was like episode, it was like episode 5 of the podcast, and I did Corpse Bride, because Corpse Bride is actually one of my favorite, It's one of my favorite Tim Burton films. There's still a lot of his that I have not seen, but I obviously can talk about the ones that I have. That's usually what I do. That's how I navigate this series anyways. I'm only going to talk about ones that I have seen, and then I guess it's a thing where it's like we can do it separately afterwards. Like, as in, talk about, so talk about, what's it called? Sorry, we talk about the films that I've seen, and then it's a thing where the films that I haven't, we would just do them as a separate episode, basically. But anyway, I have seen a lot of it anyway. So like Beetlejuice, The Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, Edward Scissorhands, Alice in Wonderland, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Sleepy Hollow, which one again? There's more. James and the Giant Peach, Alice Through the Looking Glass. Except, hold on. Yeah, sorry, I love that film. You know, obviously, James and the Giant Peach would have been a film where they show that film to us, like, in school. Because, of course, like, back when we were all at school, is that they would make us do they would have us study James and the Giant Peach. And that's usually the film that they would show us. But I feel like, in a way, today's probably 2 years old that I knew that he made that film. I didn't know before, actually. Which is very interesting. I didn't know that he made that film. What else? I think that might be it, though, I guess. That I've seen of his. So that's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So literally, I've seen 11 of his films. Do you get it? I feel like, wouldn't it be cool, actually? I might have to do... I'm always making lists, but I feel like I should make a Tim Burton ranking list of films that I have seen. And why not? I guess after this, it feels like it calls for the occasion, right? It literally calls for the occasion. I'm going to probably start off from where it is in order of when you go on Tim Burton's movies on Google. So I'll probably start off with Beetlejuice, and made in 1988. Obviously, I think... Yeah, no, Corpse Bride must have been my first, it's my first introduction to Tim. Anyways, it was the first ever film I saw his. But maybe then also you could say also Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out in like 2005. So it would have also been around that time as well, I guess. Do you know what I mean? I know that if I'm thinking about like on the films that I've watched, because some of Tim Burton's movies, like, we all grew up on them, basically. So it would have been a thing where I would have basically seen, I guess in order, it would have been like James and the Giant Peach, it would have been Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and then it would have been Corpse Bride, basically. And then after that would have been Alice in Wonderland. Because Alice in Wonderland's in 2010. So that's basically the order of when my first introduction to him would have been, basically. I've always just loved, like, yeah, his color tone, and the fact that, of course, like how when I just read the write-up on him, that was from Wikipedia, that his films are obviously just like, you know, the dark and gloom, and they're melancholic. Even I guess, even when you think of like Edward Scissorhands, right? Edward Scissorhands is very, yeah, it's very dark, but it's also outside of the box as well. Like somebody who has scissors for hands, and it's like they can't, you know, because Edward always felt like he wanted connection, and he wanted to be able to show that, but he wasn't able to because of his scissor hands, which was very upsetting. But anyways, back to Beetlejuice. Obviously, I only recently actually watched Beetlejuice for the first time, and that's really funny because obviously Beetlejuice came out in 1988, and it's like you would have probably assumed that I would have seen it already, but I literally hadn't seen it until like just this year. I think I watched it like a few months ago, and I really enjoyed it. Like, it was such a good film. Like, as in seeing Winona Ryder, remember, as Lydia, and it was like a thing of like there was people in this film that were like, it was a Guess Who game. Like, it was like, oh my god, I know this actor, I know this actor, I know this. It was crazy. And I mean, I guess Beetlejuice must be one of the films also, because, you know, of course, like, you know, I think I was talking about, I forget like, I'm sorry, I think I was saying it just in Sinners, actually. I was saying about how people always have director and actor duos, because Luca Guadagnino's one is basically Timothée Chalamet, right? And he has loads of others, but it's Timothée Chalamet mainly. But then you also have how, yeah, like Tim Burton's is also Johnny Depp. Like, a lot of his films star Johnny Depp, but I feel like Beetlejuice is one of them that obviously don't, but there is a lot of them that do. Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of them that do star Johnny, like a lot, of course. Like, it's just like a lot. Like, I'm trying to say, like, if not most of them, it's like, if not most of them, but Beetlejuice, no. Which is perfectly fine though. But I guess Johnny Depp does, like, he does have such an extensive, like, film bracket or something like that. I'd say, like, as a Tim Burton, like, fan, like, as a fan of his work, I would say that Johnny Depp's, like, roles in Tim Burton's films are probably my favorite ones, especially, as I said, Corpse Bride is one of mine, but there's also a lot of others that are also deemed to be my favorites of his. I feel like with Beetlejuice, with Beetlejuice, it's like, of course, I love Beetlejuice. I found it really interesting that, of course, you know, there was ghosts living in their house. No, they were living in their house and they became ghosts. And they didn't realize that they had died. And I feel like with Beetlejuice, you know, like with this film, because I guess I don't feel like it would be very high on my ranking list. I feel like, just because obviously I know all of his other ones better, this one's the newest one for me, like, as in, it's the one that I've recently seen. All the rest of them are like ones that I've seen ages ago, so they're more made and what's it called? They more made an impact. They more had a bigger impact on me. Of course, I love, like, the ending scene in Beetlejuice as well, which I guess is, what was it? Jump in the Line by Harry Belafonte, which is obviously a really, really great song. And then obviously there's like, I myself am strange and unusual. Like, okay, so cool. And then you could obviously say, like, obviously, yeah, like, I feel like Tim is also just I don't know. I guess because directors do, obviously, like I said about, they like working with familiar actors. It's the same way how I'm also going to be doing an episode on Wes Anderson as well. And Wes Anderson likes to use the same actors, like a lot of the time. Apart from, I think that in his newest film, the Fahemian Scheme, I think there's Michael Cera is starring in that film, and I don't think Michael Cera has starred in a Wes Anderson film as of yet. If I'm wrong, correct me, but I do actually generally feel like he hasn't been in one as of yet, which is very big. And I feel like Michael does like fit the feel of like Wes's films, like, you know what I mean? I just mean how all of Wes's films feel like they have a feel to them, and I feel like Michael Cera does fit that. But no, back to what I said, I just mean like obviously with Beetlejuice is played by Michael Keaton, and then obviously you have Michael Keaton who would have also been in Tim Burton's Batman as well. So that's like obviously what I'm saying about using familiar faces basically. It's very interesting though that I guess afterwards it became Johnny Depp. Anything like that. I would be really interested to know though, for people who obviously saw Beetlejuice 2, what was your thoughts on that? Because of course I've only seen Beetlejuice 1, and I know that Beetlejuice 2 came out like, let me see, Beetlejuice 2. Yeah, like last year. But I don't think, did Tim do this film? Yeah, okay, he did. But of course, yeah, I didn't watch it. I haven't seen it. It's Beetlejuice, and so I haven't seen it the second time round. It's very interesting though, I guess. I mean that for the second Beetlejuice is that Michael obviously, like, what is it? You'd say he reprised his role, I mean. Because I guess that doesn't always happen. I mean, you don't necessarily always have people like coming back to do their roles, type of thing where they get like replaced a lot of the time. And then it had a lot of obviously like new stars in it, but then also it had obviously Monica Bellucci, and she's not really a fresh face. She's actually obviously quite old, and like Danny DeVito as well, and Jenny Ortega, who's obviously a new fresh face, and also she's today's Wednesday as well. I don't know who like directs Wednesday though, because I'd like to know. Oh, okay, this is what I mean. So obviously Wednesday's also another one. Sorry, that's directed by Tim, which actually I didn't know, but it makes sense. Sorry, of course, because it has the feel again of a Tim Burton make. Yeah. We'll obviously get on to discussing Wednesday at some point in the episode, but I think what I was going to talk about right now is that, it's really interesting when people say that they obviously always felt like Coraline was a film that felt like a Tim make, which it did, but like it wasn't him. Do you know what I mean? So they always say that though. So, because it says Coraline was directed by Tim Burton by Henry Selick. The filmmaker behind Coraline is Wendell and White director Henry Selick. But this hasn't stopped the beloved adaptation of the Neil Gaiman comic from being falsely attributed to Burton by far too many people. So, yeah. Because I guess they were like, oh, yeah, Coraline's similar to Tim Burton's kind of work, which is why people like mistakenly thought that it was. I never really did, because I know that Tim's work is like, yeah, Tim does animation. I mean, of course, he's done it with Frankenweenie and what else? He's done it with Frankenweenie, and I feel like that's mainly it though. But this is the thing. What I'm trying to say is I don't feel like Tim Burton does a lot of animated movies slash like series or whatever. He doesn't really do much animation. Like obviously Coraline's the type of film where, because obviously I've seen it, and I went to the exhibition for that, sorry. It's done by what are they called? I need to find out what they're called again, because otherwise I'll feel weird. Yeah, so Leica, right. So, because I was like, I went to the exhibition and I always forget. So I went to that exhibition of the Leica Studios. So obviously I'm like, Tim doesn't do that kind of work, but Leica Studios does all that kind of work, which is basically them like using animation and like CGI, I think, and all of that kinds of stuff. But Tim doesn't really do any of those things. And all you gotta do is say my name. I don't know your name. Well, I can't say it. How about a game of charades? Yeah, let's play it. 2 words. Second word. Beetle. Beverage. Like, oh, I love that. That was probably, no, I guess that was my main thing. And I guess also that's what also probably persuaded me to watch Beetlejuice, actually. I remember it was the reason. What was it? I kept seeing the Say My Name, or I saw it like it was a video probably on TikTok or something, and I saw the musical performance for Say My Name, and I was like, yeah, I definitely need to watch Beetlejuice on that. Yeah, on that premise, and the fact that obviously we know that Beetlejuice has been like around, and people say that Beetlejuice is real, and that you shouldn't say it 3 times. It's funny, and I think that's also that's the trademark of Beetlejuice, and I guess it's like I think I probably said it more than enough 3 times already. Like, this is what I mean. I probably said it 3 times already. Not that I've been keeping count, but I probably have. And then I guess it's like how they say, it's like what? It's the same way of like how Voldemort's whole idea is that you shouldn't say his name either, because if you do, then he'll appear. We're like, okay. We're like, okay, but all right. But I like that. Do you know what I mean? When it's like a character. Yeah, when a character can like not be named. And there's a whole jazz about it. Like, don't say the name. Do you know what I mean? It's just gonna turn up. And I mean, I guess Beetlejuice was evil, so of some sorts anyways. Yeah, of some sorts. Like, he was like conniving, basically. And I guess with Beetlejuice as well, the film, I like the idea of trying to help the people who live inside your home. I would do the same thing. Like, you can't come and live in my house. You have to leave. Generally speaking, you have to leave. It's not even a joke. But yeah. Okay. Basically, next one we're discussing is The Nightmare Before Christmas. Obviously, because I've done an episode of Corpse Bride, I won't talk about it that much. But of course, when we get there, I'll touch on it a little bit. But obviously, back to Nightmare Before Nightmare Before Christmas. What was it? What's the most popular thing about that film? But this is Halloween. This is Halloween, everybody. Remember, because who plays Jack Skellington? Yeah, Chris Sarandon, and then also Danny Elfman. But I think there's a thing that, I think it's a thing where Danny Elfman does, he does the musical performances, and then I think then the Chris guy does the speech, right? Yeah, I think he does the speech. So we should touch on Danny a little bit. I mean, Danny's so cool. Like, Danny is so cool. And he has so many things. That's crazy. Danny Elfman has so many different things that I didn't actually know. But I really like him. I mean, yeah, I especially like him in Corpse Bride, of course. But Yeah, he obviously did play. He did do the singing for Jack. What's this? What's this? There's someone everywhere. This is amazing. I can't believe my eyes. What's this? And I love Catherine O'Hara in this as well. Obviously, this is what I'm talking about. Catherine O'Hara was also in Beetlejuice. She's also in this film too. And she obviously plays Sally. I forget what's Sally's song again. Oh, it's actually Sally's song is actually titled Sally's Song. I sing this song, and I think who sang that song as well? It was Billie Eilish. It's like fun fact. Billie Eilish sang that song. I think yes, she sang it with Danny Elfman. She was dressed up as yeah, she was dressed up as Sandy. I mean Sally. Sandy. It's because of Greece. I guess it's like, you know, when you have so many we have so many names up there. People are from films. I'm like Sandy S, but no, Sally. So she was dressed up as Sally, and then she was singing with Danny Elfman. She was singing Sally's song. And oh my gosh, because Sally is a very great character in that film. Like, of course, she's supposed to be... She was like an experiment. I mean, or well, she's supposed to be a Frankenstein of some sorts anyways. I feel like. Yeah. She's supposed to be like some kind of... she's supposed to be some kind of Frankenstein of somewhat, because obviously the guy who had her, who was like, yeah, he was doctor, and he was in some chair, and he would obviously just put stitches in her, and she couldn't really do what she wanted to do, or necessarily be there for Jack, even though she wanted to be. And I think obviously what makes Nightmare Christmas like as like such a good film is that, of course, what's it called? Of course, yeah, it's like the film is like obviously about Jack Skellington. He's obviously supposed to be he's like a Halloween. Oh, he's the Pumpkin King, right? And I mean, but he's just like the Lord of Halloween. I mean, he's a skeleton, so valid. But then I guess they make him have a storyline which is like he also likes Christmas. Like, you know what I mean? He also, even though he's, you know, he does all of this like evil stuff, he realizes that he likes being able to he wants to be able to, yeah, be Santa Claus. Kidnap Santa Claus. Oh yeah, and the Oogie Boogie song. The Oogie Boogie song. That's my favorite. That's one of my favorites probably from that as well. And I swear that the guy who sang the Oogie Boogie song isn't living anymore. Yeah, Ken Page. Yeah, he died. He died on like last year. It was actually crazy. R.I.P. to him. I remember I saw it and I was actually so upset because Oogie Boogie was such a great like character. And actually Ken Page was actually he was a great actor, just in general. Like he was just a great actor. Like I remember, yeah, he was in Dreamgirls. That was where I saw him in. But I guess I didn't know that he voiced Oogie Boogie, like not until probably, I don't know, I didn't know it very quickly. But then I know that he was in Dreamgirls as well. And yeah, it was sad to hear his passing. But like, oh my god. And then also kidnap Mr. Sandy Claus. I want to do it. Let's draw straws. But no, like, I don't know, like, the whole film is just great. And you know, actually, what this film's always made me think, there's always been half me, because I've always been like, oh, is it a Halloween film or is it a Christmas film? And I feel like it's technically both, which is so crazy. It's just because it's called A Nightmare Before Christmas, and you're like, Christmas is in the title, so it makes it, so it's kind of a thing where it's like, it's technically a Christmas film, but also not. It's just like, I don't know, because it's like, I think I did a Christmas episode before as well, but it's hard to really say when a film is determined, like, or is a Christmas film, because I always think it stands on the fact that, yeah, if there's any Christmas elements, then that makes it, like, technically it is. But then I'm also like, of course, we know a Christmas film is considered to be one when, like, the whole thing is surrounded by Christmas. Like, obviously, like how when I did my episode, I was talking mainly about Home Alone. And Home Alone's obviously, like, one of, like, well, like, it's one of, if not one of the main Christmas films. But it's like, I don't know, Nightmare Before Christmas has always confused me. I feel like I've played it. Yeah, I have watched it both seasons, and it's so weird. Just because I can't decide. I mean, tell me what you think. Do you feel like it can be considered to be a Christmas film or not? Even though it's just when the film starts out, it's like, obviously, yeah, this is Halloween plays first, and then you have a whole introduction to Jack and, like, everybody who's there, and the fact that they're all like, kind of like Halloween creatures, or what we know of them anyways, and that's kind of what they're supposed to be. Then it's just like, yeah, you just have elements of Christmas, which I just think, yeah, it's always made it difficult for me. I do really like those films though. So yeah, I do really like those films a lot. But I know that really it's like, I'm gonna move on to Corpse Bride now. Because Corpse Bride is one of my favorite films, as I said. Yeah, because like one of my favorite films, and if you have listened to that episode before, is just one of my favorite episodes, because, like, Emily deserved better. She did. It wasn't fair what happened to her at all. And then they wanted to be upset with her for thinking that somebody would want to marry her. We said, what? That's not a crime. She said she thought that Victor wanted to be with her. We said, we're sorry. Like, she needed her second chance. That's all she wanted. Somebody who was actually, like, yes, wanting to marry her, and actually wanting to be with her, rather than the fact that when she meets that guy in Corpse Bride and he obviously murders her. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, her death was not fair, was it? She actually was just, she was murdered by somebody, and that was just not fair. And it's like, oh my god, that's why her story upsets me. She's like, no, Victor, you're not mine. I'm like, please. But you, like, we're like, but you deserve him, though. You do. And I'm like, okay, fine, just because you deserve him doesn't mean, I guess, you're the best fit because you are dead. But hey. And Tears to Shed has been one of my, yeah, like, that song is crazy. And people be like, oh, what are you listening to? I'm like, I'm listening to Tears to Shed from Corpse Bride. Right? And then, of course, remember Corpse Bride obviously stars Helena and Johnny Depp, and I feel like they always go so well together, and they have, like, I just mean in general, like, as in a lot, they've obviously both been in a lot of Tim's films as well, and they go together very well, basically. Yeah, they go together very, very well, and especially just especially just this film in general. See, and as I said, Danny Elfman's obviously in this film because he's Bone Jangles. He's the what's it called? He's like, what is he? Yes, he's the skeleton, sorry. You know, Bojangles, he does the song. Is the song called Corpse Bride? No, it's not Corpse Bride. Like I meant, it's the song is basically about the origins of Corpse Bride, but the song is obviously called Remains of the Day, right? Just die, 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 die. We all don't wear a frown because it's really okay. Might try and frown and we might try and pray. We all end up the remains of the day, basically. So, and literally, because that's what they said. Like, and I guess Tears to Shed always intertwines with that also. Just that same message. They were saying to her, like, Emily, it's fine because eventually, like, Victoria will die. Like, you might be dead now, okay? But you're dead also not because, not because you were supposed to die, but because you were wrongfully murdered. And then, like, we're like, but don't worry, like, death will come to them soon. And I guess that's obviously what the message is, like, of, I guess, both of those songs. I mean, Rent of the Day is like, yeah, we're all gonna die anyway. Like, don't think that you're special. Like, just because you're living, it's gonna come soon. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. And that's why Tears Shed such a sad song. Yet the pain hit that I feel. Try and tell me it's not real. I know that I am dead, but it seems that I still have a tear to shed. And it's like, the thing with me, I'm just like, yeah. And I think because it's sad because Emily has to get the label of being the other woman. Like, I wrote about that before. I wrote about In Defense of the Other Woman. And I was like, that's all Emily really can be known for being the other woman. I said, please. She was supposed to be the woman on about the other woman. Like, she's like, no. We were like, no, that's not right. She was supposed to be the woman, and she was meant to get her happy ending. That's the main thing. That's the main takeaway anyways. I just feel like Emily was supposed to get her happily ending, and she didn't. But she deserved it, though. That's what I do know. I'm like, she deserved it. She deserved it, for sure. And exactly. I think I love everything about Corpse Bride. I mean, yeah, I love everything about it. The designs, the, the designs, the gloominess of it all, because I guess Corpse Bride is obviously about death. But again, as we know, that's Tim Burton's, we said it's his forte. It's his ace. We said it's what he does. So, you know, a lot of his films are gory, especially how when I get onto Sleepy Hollow is very, very gory. And I only watched it one time. Like, it feels like it's a family favorite in my house, but it's like, if I can help it, I don't watch it because, you know, the Headless Horseman, I'm like, no, I don't want to see somebody without a head. No, it just makes me feel itchy. Like, I'm sorry, I don't like it. But then I feel like, and even Sleepy Hollow is like one of those, you know, one of those great horrors. Do you know what I mean? That's literally what Tim does. And I feel like also Sleepy Hollow also reminds me of Crimson Peak as well. Like, in terms of just like, the whole kind of storyline and like the designs. And then Sleepy Hollow can also, I feel like, also be related to also Nosferatu in the way what's needed to create a really doom and gloom horror, like what's needed, the ingredients anyways. You know, like the environment, the atmosphere, and the costumes. Basically, it needs to be those big threes, and that's what you need. And then you obviously need the key component, which is also tension and dramatics, like the wind blowing and like the leaves falling. And especially like when I watched Nosferatu, and I guess my favorite scene is when what's it called, the guy's going off to like Count Orlok's house, and then you see like the way that it's got that huge view, because obviously he's traveling to, what was it, Transylvania? So it's got that huge view, and it's like, that's what you need. And that's, I said, that's a masterpiece. Like, that's what cinema is. And I guess I mean that kind of genre anyways. Like a horror scene is what's needed. I think that's the trademark, sorry. Like, I just mean the fact of, like, even, I guess, now I'm diving into horror, into horror as a genre, but like the fact of, like, you know, you need a big like scene like that to really make the audience be like, we wouldn't want to be caught dead there. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of feel. You sit in your seat and you're like, no, like, you know, even I guess I don't even know, I think Sinners had me like that a few times, because it was just the way that the juke joint like looked. Like, I guess from the inside it looked great, but the outside it was just bang in the middle of nowhere. it was bang in the middle of nowhere. Who's going there? Not me. Literally not me. I'm not going there. So, because it's just like, it feels like a place where it's like, yeah, it feels like a place where death is near. And that's literally what I was saying about when he travels to Transylvania. I'm like, that's, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be there at all. Not even a tiny bit. And I guess, you know, when I'm talking about trademarks of scenes and horrors as well, Corpse Bride has that too. Like we said, let's go back to Corpse Bride, but Corpse Bride has that as well. Especially obviously when Victor's doing the what's it called? Yeah, he was preparing for his proposal to Victoria, and then obviously he puts the ring on the branch, but then he thought it was a branch, but it was actually Emily's finger. It said, I do wed? Yeah, I do wed. He says something like that. And then he puts the finger on, puts the ring onto Emily's finger, and then obviously all the crows come around, and then Emily comes up from underneath the ground, and she's standing in front of him, and he's like, meh! and then all the birds do that crazy thing, and then it was like, yeah, that was a great scene, because that's what I mean, just perfect, like, perfect setting, perfect building of a story, the structure, and what's needed to create an eerie atmosphere. Do you know what I mean? See, I'm telling you. And what I was saying about people doing long reviews, I love it. It's gorgeous. Even on, what was it? This is me reading it on Google, right? This is what I'm talking about, learning about the underworld of living dead alongside the living creatures. What we learn in the world of living dead are basically wonderful and kind-hearted creatures that many won't understand, but they add so much color and environment, whereas the living world is dark and unpleasant. Right! Hold on. They're so right. I'd never really sank that in properly, but it's true, because the thingy bob was like, yeah, the thing was, the up on the real world, it was all gloomy and dark. And then those people were dying there, basically. Because remember, their driver dies in the film. And then also, yeah, there's just all these things where it's dark and gloomy. And then I guess what's it called? What is it? What do we call it? Then the underworld, the underworld, like the person said in the review, is that, like, there's so much more color there. Everyone's like, what, in blue, but it's more of a thing, like, there was loads of color down there, and then the real world was more dark and dreary. Yeah, and bringing one of his passions to life in the form of stop motion animation. Corpse Bride was Tim Burton's first animated feature. Oh, exactly. You know what I mean? This is what I was talking about. I was talking about the fact that Tim doesn't do much animated like movies, but obviously like it's obviously like Night Before Christmas, and basically Night Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, and Frankenweenie, and also James and the Giant Peach. But yeah, so I guess, that's what I think to myself when I thought about the Coraline thing. People did think because Tim has done stop motion before, and I guess a thing like that he would have done it for Coraline. But then I was just like, for me, when I looked at Coraline, I was like, it didn't look like Tim's work, though. That's the thing. You have to have the eye, and I think, not the eye, excuse me, who am I? But I just mean like, when I say the eye, I just mean of when I've what I said about the fact that you have to always know like directors' works, and you have to know what it is that they would be doing. Like you have to know what it is that they would be making. It's like obviously what I'm saying, that directors always have trademarks. You know what I mean? They all have trademarks basically. Yeah, and I feel like a lot of Tim Burton's animation, they basically all look the same in a way. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying like they look the same, as in we know that it's Tim's. Coraline doesn't look like his, like, at all. I feel like maybe the storyline is something people could have been like, oh yeah, maybe that would have been Tim, because what I was saying is that I forgot when I was saying this actually. I can't remember. I was talking about the fact of like otherworldly, the fact that he always kind of has he's always obviously creating worlds basically, so world building. Which is really great, but he's always world building. So it's a thing where like obviously he did Alice in Wonderland, and I feel like I've always thought that Alice in Wonderland and Coraline have the same kind of, what's it called? They have the same kind of premise, or like they just have the same kind of storyline, because it's the whole thing of going into another world, and you're like, Alice goes down a rabbit hole and Coraline goes through a door, so it's kind of the same kind of story, but in a different way. When I move on to Edward Scissorhands, and then sorry, I was trying to think about. Okay, no, Corpse Bride was obviously Johnny Depp's first film with Tim. Yeah. I was like, wait, no, yes, of course, because 2005. Yeah, 2005, 2012, 1999. No, okay. I think it would have been Sleepy Hollow, like I was obviously talking about. Like, we'll get there. But Sleepy Hollow, right? Sleepy Hollow was 1999. So I think that obviously was probably Johnny's first film with Tim. I want to know, hold on a second. How did... Ew, sorry, I spelled that wrong. So interesting. Tim Burton discovered Johnny Depp while casting for his film Edward Scissorhands in 1990. Oh, sorry, guys. There we go. It was actually Edward Scissorhands before Sleepy Hollow. So Edward Scissorhands was the first one. Burton had initially curated a drawing for the movie and knew Depp was perfect for the role as soon as he saw him. While Burton had seen Depp's work on 21 Jump Street, it was his personal connection and the feeling that Depp embodied the character that led to the casting decision. Did you guys ever remember Timothée Chalamet when he was dressed up as Edward Scissorhands? Sorry. This is what I mean. It's like when you have a podcast, you're just like oversharing. But hey, but it's like, no, because this is actually like It's important. Like, you guys be like, oh, it's not relevant, but it is, because Timothy was dressed up as Edward Scissorhands, and he looked exactly like him. I feel like if there was an Edward Scissorhands, what is it? Do we call it? Yeah, remake. Not that we would want that. Said praise God. We said no, thank you. But not that we would want that. But Timothy would be a great casting for it. There probably wouldn't be. I think there wouldn't be anybody else. Yeah, there wouldn't be anyone else. It would actually only be Timothy. I don't think. And of course, you guys would be like, oh, we can tell that you're biased and you like Timothy Chalamet. And I've said this before, but it's like, I don't care. I just like, I know. It's like, we know a good actor when we see one. Right? And I'm sure you do too, as a fellow film watcher, film reviewer. You must know it too, that it would be Timothy. But exactly. Exactly. I'm just like, I know that it would be him. And but that's really interesting. Again, so because obviously now we are in our sister's hands anyways. That's obviously what we're talking about. So I was like, that's really interesting that's how he found him. So that's how he found him, and he obviously, yeah, it's like from then, so that means from 1990, he just wanted Johnny Depp in all of his films. And I hear it, because like I said, Johnny Depp is a great actor, so it's actually so valid. All that wee lassie, I wouldn't know. Sorry, I'm just like, that wee lassie, I wouldn't know. There's a hole in me cup. Oh wait, no, the line is actually, no, there's an eye in me tea. Yeah, sorry. Obviously, Alice in Wonderland's the next one that we're going to be discussing anyways, but like, oh my gosh. I also did an episode on Alice in Wonderland as well. Sorry. Alice in Wonderland was like my... Oh yeah, it was my episode before Corpse Bride. So it was episode 3 of the podcast. And yeah. I don't even know why I did them back to back like that. Did that mean something? Was that a coincidence? I don't think so. It probably did mean something. But it's like, I do think that, like, those two films, I guess, anyways, would be number 2s for me. Like, as in, if I was to say, if anyone asked me about any Tim Burton film, it would probably be those two. And it would just be easy to recount them. Not to say that I didn't love Edward Scissorhands, because I did. Yeah. Because of course, like, Edward had synthetic man with scissor hand is taken in by Peg, a kindly Avon lady, of the passing of his inventor, and things could turn for the worse when he is blamed for a crime he did not commit. Do you know what I mean? My Shayla Edward, like, do you know what I mean? All he wanted was to be loved, right? That's all he wanted. Right? Exactly. There was this thing that said on here on Google that said, is Edward Scissorhands okay for kids? It's obviously not. It says there's sporadic violence. And there is. And of course there would be. A guy, like, with knives for hands. That's not normal, is it? So that's not normal, is it? So children can't watch it. Because it's weird. Even though, yes, there is some violent things that happen in his hands, but then it's like, I also don't feel like that, because you know, when we first meet Edward, I mean, like, in the film, it's like, we obviously see him doing really nice things, basically. He's like cutting bushes and, like, doing people's hair. Like, he was being, like, I don't know. It made it feel like he was being a slave of some sorts, but he was also showing affection. He was showing affection. He was being lovely. Like, you know what I mean? And then I guess yeah, it turned, I think people said, aside from a woman attempting to seduce Edward wearing a lace bra, and what's it called? Sexuality is limited to courting rituals, kissing and hugging. Right. See? That's what I mean. Sex and nudity, it says. So really, it's a no. Really, it's no. But then I say to myself, to you guys, obviously, it would have been a no anyway. It actually would have been a no anyway. Just because, I guess, I'm just saying because of the knife, hands for knives thing. But I think the story of Edward also, because yes, it's a fantasy romance. I think it's really nice because it's just a magical modern fairy tale with gothic overtones, and the fact that all he wanted was like, when he's like, oh, she's like, hug me, and he's like, I can't. We were like, oh my gosh, that's so sad. But he couldn't touch her because he was obviously gonna jab her. But he did love her though, innit? Winona Ryder's character. And this is the thing, like, Winona Ryder and Johnny Depp. Yeah. I mean, of course, they would have been in Tim Burton's films. That's probably how they would have met. And then they obviously were together. Yeah. They were together. And I guess, have you guys ever seen that clip of when they were at an award show together, and it was their first time seeing each other after breaking up, and it was one of those, like, oh, it was so cute. Like, I just mean, like, not cute, but like they were doing kind of like longing gazes. It was like, oh, what was it? It's like The One That Got Away, giving, like, by Katy Perry. But like, yeah, giving Katy Perry when The One That Got Away. But yeah, they were a cute couple. And you know what's funny is that, I don't know, like, you know when you look at a couple and you're like, they were an aesthetically pleasing couple. Like, the way that they went together, like, they look like they really just, yeah, I don't know. Well, it's like they look like they were made for each other. So, yeah. And I guess it says that Burton is a PG anyways, like I was saying about the kid thing. It's a PG, but even then, I don't think I would show it to my kids anyways. Like, I'm sorry, but I wouldn't. I do think that it's crazy because, like, a lot of things that kids see nowadays, they like, they shouldn't see, but like, people will let their kids, it feels bad to say, but they'll let their kids see anything, which is just so strange. Of course, it's like, I myself, I'm not a parent, but it's also just like, it's just like to yourself, why are kids allowed to see whatever? Do you get it? It's like, of course, it's like, I don't know, it's tying in themes of, like, I don't know, adolescence and stuff like that. Those kinds of grand things just make you wonder about how, it makes you wonder about how, like, there's just some things that kids shouldn't be allowed to see. And I know that it's like, Edward Scissorhands is not real. Like, this is the thing, Edward Scissorhands is not real, but it's still like, it just has connotations, and it's crazy because I remember when that whole discussion with, what was it about? Who was it about? Oh, the whole deep dive into Dan Snyder, right? And it was a thing where it was like, connotations were in front of our faces, like, for ages. It wasn't even a thing. You see, it wasn't even a thing where it was like, oh, the shows we were watching had parental guidance, because they didn't. They were actually for us, made for us. And it was like, even though they were made for us, we shouldn't actually be watching them. And that blew my mind. I was like, wow, that means you don't know what you can show kids nowadays, because somewhere or the other, there's always hidden details. There's always, what do you call it? There's always jam in the donut. Right. There's always jam in the donut and there's always a hidden detail. So it's just like, yeah, it's hard because you're like, what can you show them? And that's why I'm even saying that about Edward Scissorhands. Of course, I think Edward Scissorhands is like cute and stuff. But then I'm also like, no. And then you know what's funny? Like, I was meant to do an episode, right? I just forgot I was going to do an episode. I still probably am, but it was going to be an episode of like things that used to scare me when I was a child. And I do think that it's like, yeah, it's an important episode because it's like some things it's like you just shouldn't have been watching back then. Crazy thing was, obviously one of mine that I've always said, it was always Hulk, because I was not fond of like seeing somebody transform into a green monster. Although although it wasn't real, I still didn't like it. Like, it's like, although it wasn't, it was still like, no. And it's just like, yeah, you're just like to yourself, how much can you shield children away, but what is it that they really should not watch, basically. I'm obviously going to choose one more film now to discuss, and then that's the end. Finn. Basically, I was going to talk about now Charlie and Chocolate Factory is one of my favorites, and I haven't watched Charlie and Chocolate Factory in a long time, and I want to watch it again. But yes, and I guess that's another great Johnny Depp role, right? How crazy is it? I'm like, I was like, you wouldn't be like to yourself, oh, let's talk about a film that doesn't star Johnny Depp. You're gonna have a hard time at doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's not gonna be an easy feat. Like, you will not be able to do it. Most of his, that's what I said. I said it to you guys in the beginning. Most, if not all, star him. So there's no way around it. Except if we wanted to, we could discuss James and the Giant Peach instead. Right? James and the Giant Peach? Yes. I also watched James and the Giant Peach, actually. I loved, what was it? Oh, like, I loved, like, learning about it, in school, for one thing. And then the book cover is gorgeous. Like, you know, when you were reading it in school, the book cover is lovely. That bright orange on there, and then it's orangey, and the book feels a bit like, I don't know, not for me to do, like, book ASMR kind of descriptions, but the books are furry and it feels nice. I'm sorry, I love books, but it's fine. Like, you know, it's not even a thing. Like, you know, when you say to people like, oh yeah, I love books, but it's not even like, oh yeah, I love books. It's like, it's like, I love the spine of a book. The way when you get a new book and the book has the new fresh book smell. Yeah, all the intricate details of what it is of owning a book. Like, not just the words in the book, but just the way the book is made. You guys be like, oh, is that weird? And I'm like, no. But I'm just saying that James the Giant Peach had a great, like, it just is a great, like, it's a well-made book, basically. Like, the book is gorgeous. And I really love how, yeah. Like, I always think that to myself, I've always thought about, remember when books are adapted anyways, is that James and the Giant Peach is a great adaptation because all the characters just look like how they would look. Like, generally speaking, they all look like how they would look. Obviously, it's an orphan boy drops magical crocodile tongues, which later grow into a never-ending peach tree. He finds his new family, which are 6 insects that helped him on his adventure. I almost forgot that James was an orphan, actually. Sorry, because it's like I haven't thought about James and the Giant Peach in a long time. So, and I guess, it's an education thing. Like, James and the Giant Peach was obviously told us an education, so it's probably not really a thing that we really... It's not really a thing that we really think about, I don't think. There's a lot of things that sometimes you do, but I think this is the thing. We know that about education. A lot of the stuff that we learn, we don't really think about it for a second time. It's there in the moment, but if you were to ask if we think about it again, not necessarily. I just think that, yeah, that James and the Giant Peach is just great. And James and Giant Beach is great because, well, sorry, it's like, I guess most stories are, I think that they're always great. And anyways, fictional stories anyways, just they're outside the box. And it's like, James is living in a peach with a bunch of insects. Do you hear how crazy that is? We said he's actually living in there with a bunch of insects. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And the next episode will be Wes Anderson. And thank you for listening, and see you again next time.